to welcome you. We're so appreciative that you're here today on this beautiful Saturday to share our project with us. And we hope that you find our presentation innovative and exciting and worth your time for being here. I'm Brenda.
Jamie.
Chris.
Melinda.
Tara.
Sarah.
Gwen.
Adam.
Jeff.
Lisa.
Becky.
Jenny.
Rachel. Emily.
Shona.
Carrie.
Andrea.
And
We are Innovation Academy.
Imagine a community of learners fully engaged, empowering its members, growing together, caring for the community, developing their strengths, practicing responsible leadership while discovering authentic learning. Welcome to Innovation Academy. The vision of Innovation Academy is that our learning community exists to develop lifelong learners as responsible, mindful, contributing members of our global society. We are a group of people working together to make the world a better place.
You want to?
You can, that's okay. Just go to the next one. You can
Yep.
get it up.
Okay.
The mission of Innovation Academy is to build a community that empowers diverse learners to develop their strengths in an authentic, project-based learning environment that focuses on 21st century skills, digital citizenship, and global responsibility. The emphasis of our community is on servant leadership and authentic learning. We envision Innovation Academy because our students live in an ever-changing world. The classrooms of today, traditional classrooms, were developed in an agrarian society 150 years ago, and our students need to look forward to the future. They need to be ready to be collaborators, communicators, critical thinkers, and problem solvers. And they need to practice responsible citizenship and think in a globally minded way. We want to focus on authentic, project-based learning to bring these experiences alive for our students. So join us as we journey in the next few hours, hopefully not that long, and explore our academy with us.
All right. Now that you know a little bit about our mission and our vision, what drives us, the backbone of what we do, I'd like to share a few of our school design elements. Innovation Academy will welcome students in 5th through 8th grade. Later on, you will hear about how those students, rather than being grouped in traditional grade levels, will be grouped based on student interest, academic needs, and strengths. In year 1, we will welcome 40 students with a 10-to-1 student ratio, and in our 3rd year, we will grow to 120 students with a 15-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio. Because we will be based in the Green Bay Area School District, we anticipate that our student population will follow the demographics of that school district. We have plans in place to help the 16% of students that may come to us with special needs, those with limited English proficiency, and we will understand that struggles that students who come from economically disadvantaged families may deal with. So we have plans later that you'll hear about to learn more about that. Lastly, we took a look in looking at the achievement gap. We looked at the WSAS scores and found that in reading, while 26.8% of the students scored proficient or advanced, there's a whole 73.2% who are at basic or minimal performance. The same is almost true for mathematics, where 36.7% are proficient and advanced, but there are 63% who are had a minimal performance. We're committed to closing that achievement gap through hiring teachers, recruiting and retaining teachers who aren't only qualified but are passionate, motivated, who understand that intelligence isn't set or fixed, that it's changeable. We will provide ongoing staff development for those teachers, and we know that those teachers will have to set high expectations for their students. And also we feel that our project-based learning, where we will provide real-world experiences, will also aid in closing that achievement gap.
Innovation Academy is just that, innovative in a variety of ways. And I just want to highlight some of those reasons why we are so innovative, and you'll find out just a little bit more about them in a little more in-depth as you visit some stations later today. To start off, we really value servant leadership. Our students will be going out into their community and participating regularly in service projects so that they can really develop their identity as global citizens through service to others. In addition to that, we really focus on student-driven, strengths-based learning. Our students will work with their teachers, administrative mentors, as well as other students to create their own plan for learning. And they will work with those teams to then assess how well they are meeting those needs and get the support that they need to really achieve what they hope to see themselves achieve. We also, like Chris had mentioned, really see the benefit in working with the students working in multi-age, more flexible groupings that are going to be based on their interests and their needs and the achievements that they've already made, instead of just staying with their same age peers. Now they will work with their same age peers, but when it's developmentally appropriate and when it is good for the students to do so. We also want to immerse our students into the 4 areas of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Since those fields are constantly growing, we want to set them up for success should they choose that path in life. We also will have one-to-one technology, and a lot of schools are moving to that, but we feel that we will be able to use it in a way that's going to help connect those students to the world around them and bring in experts in the field into the classroom through technology use. One of the most unique aspects of our school is our non-traditional learning space. We will have flexible and fluid learning spaces that are going to allow for all different types of learners to be successful. We're going to have a maker space, science lab, sensory room, a daily living skills lab, all to help to meet the needs of our diverse learners. The circular design of the central collaborative space that you'll see later is awesome because it's going to really form that community for our students and the teachers and the administrators, and have a place where they can come together to develop the community and share what they're working on. We will have highly qualified, experienced teachers, which we'll tell you more about later, our master teachers, who will actively pursue grants and fundraising opportunities to enhance the learning experiences of our students, and they're really going to help bridge the gap between teachers and administrators and make sure that there's a community feel amongst the staff as well as the students. Community involvement, as I said before, is extremely important, but not just students going out into the community, but also bringing the community in. We want to make sure that we are inviting our community members, business partners, families and friends in regularly through gallery walks and other events so that they really can feel invested in the school and keep that community outside of the walls of the school as well. Last but not least, we really want to focus on project-based learning. So student-centered, and it's really going to help prepare our students for success in the future. So we wanted to share with you a short video that will explain project-based learning a little bit better and just show how amazing it is for preparing students for real-world problem solving.
You remember what it was like in school. It was boring. You sat in class, memorized as much as you could, and tried to pass a test at the end. But is that good enough? These days, school can be more interesting and effective by focusing students on work that matters. This is project-based learning explained. Most adults live in a world of projects. Whether it's a job assignment, home improvement, or planning a wedding, we need to actively solve problems. But unfortunately, schoolwork looks more like this than this. Let's take a look at this project-based world. Meet Claire. She was recently presented with a challenge. Her company, Super Suds, makes soap. and it was up to her to find the most earth-friendly way to produce it in the future. Her boss gave her a budget and a few requirements, and it was up to her to come up with a solution. She organized and managed a team who researched the options and created materials summarizing the issues. Claire's team asked for feedback and presented their findings to the boss. Claire came out of the project looking like a rock star, and she learned a lot about green products. If you look closely, Claire's success involved critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, things that aren't often taught in traditional classrooms. The world needs more Claires, so how do we get them? The answer is project-based learning, or PBL. By focusing students on a project, teachers put them on a path that deepens their knowledge and builds skills they'll need in the future. Here's what I mean. Mr. Simmons has always been a good science teacher, and his students do well on Friday's tests. Unfortunately, what they learned was gone by Saturday morning. That wasn't good enough for him. Soon he learned about project-based learning and decided to give it a shot. Mr. Simmons got the idea for his first project on microorganisms when nearly half of his students were suddenly absent with the flu. He asked his students why they thought so many of their classmates got sick at the same time. That lively discussion produced a lot of good questions and a list of things the kids wanted to know. Mr. Simmons then announced their project was to help elementary school kids understand, how can we not get sick? After dividing the class into teams, he got them started on the project. It was up to the students to ask questions, research, collaborate, give each other feedback, and figure out the best ways to make their points clear to children. One team chose to make an educational video on the connection between hand washing and avoiding the flu. Another chose to create posters to show how viruses spread. The project teams showed off their final work to an enthusiastic audience of parents and their children at a nearby elementary school. Sitting in the front row was our good friend and local rock star Claire, who saw a bit of herself in the students. It was clear that the project was a success for the students, the audience, and Mr. Simmons. His students practiced critical thinking, collaboration, and communication. The project wasn't about memorization, but learning in depth about viruses and how to prevent spreading disease, a lesson they will never forget. At the end of the presentation, Claire introduced herself to the students and told them that they were rock stars and that the world needs more people who can think like them. To learn more about project-based learning, go to BIE.org.
Okay, so focusing and thinking about the video and thinking about having authentic learning experiences and creating a safe and nurturing environment for our students, that will be our top priority, because when students feel safe, they learn better, they feel more confident in their abilities. And as a school and student goal combined, we really do want to focus on 21st century skills. As the video demonstrated, project-based learning incorporates a lot of the creativity, the communication, the collaboration that students are going to need in the workforce for the future. So ultimately, we want them to be successful citizens and be employable. And finally, after reviewing WISE- data for the Green Bay School District, we noticed that reading and math scores could stand some improvement. And so as our third student goal, we had a goal of our first year raising math and reading basic and proficient and advanced students to 80%, meeting the proficient and advanced. And then by year 3, it is our goal that 100% of students will be at proficient and advanced levels. And we'll do this through various assessments and different tools, peer assessments, self-assessments, rubrics, and formative and summative assessments.
So now is the exciting part of our day where you're going to get to break out and get to hear even more about how awesome our school is. We'll have breakout sessions available around the library here. Curriculum and instruction will be located if you go through the library and to your right, and you'll be meeting with these lovely ladies over here. Facilities, finance, and law are over by the money tree over there. There might be some sweets over there to help make it even more exciting to hear about finances. And then also the staff and professional development will be in the LGI. So through the library to your left, our gentleman will be back there and one lady. And then also community involvement over by the window. We just ask that you allow just about 10 minutes for each. And we were thinking that if you could just move in 2 different groups, we could have one group start over this direction and then one group follow that way, just so that you can get a little bit more one-on-one interaction with our presenters. And then at each station you'll see some boards that say their topic that they'll be telling you about. As you come up with questions, use a post-it note and just stick your question up there, and we'll be sure to make sure that we answer it when we come back together at the end with the question and answer period. We want to make sure that every question that you have about our school is answered before you leave here today. Do you guys have any questions at all before we kind of break out? All right, fantastic. You can kind of just divide yourselves however you're comfortable.
Community involvement section of our school. As Jamie had mentioned before in our mission statement, community involvement is huge with our school. Not only is it important to get our students out into the community, we also want the community to come our way as well. So the first thing that we want to do in our school is have action teams. It's kind of similar to what some schools do, but a little bit different. Our action teams will include our principals, master teachers. So as Jamie mentioned, our master teachers are going to be teachers that have been teaching in our district or in our school for quite some time, as well as parents, students, and business partners, which you'll hear about those business partners in a little bit. And their goal is to come together to make sure that every student is on track, as well as coming up with fundraising ideas for our charter school. One of the things that we really want our school to do is have gallery walks where our students can show their project-based learning. Because unlike the traditional school with the tests that come home with kids where their parents can see their grades, we want to make sure they can present their projects not only to their parents, but as well as the community. So we would be inviting the community to come in to see those projects. Another thing that we want to do is have the community feel like they can come in whenever they need to. So we're going to be offering volunteer hours where they can come in and help read with the kids or whatever strength they think they can involve into our school, as well as grandparents, senior citizens, those people that they want to get out there and help, and we'll allow them to come in and help in any way that they feel comfortable. We'll also have a PTO, which a lot of schools do have, to get our parents and teachers to come together, as well as the fundraising and things like that, coming up with ideas, because as we all know, money just doesn't pop out of nowhere, so we need to come up with ideas to get that done. And most importantly, we want to partner with local businesses. This is a list of some of them that we have. Bellin Health, we'd be partnering with them to come into our school to help those students that normally don't get the proper care that they can because they can't afford it. As well as partnering with them for our teachers, because as we know, a lot of teachers have families, and to get to those appointments and things like that, they're usually during school hours and you have to take off. So partnering with them where we can have a nurse in the area that you can go in the morning during hours that they're typically not open, so that it keeps our staff members in the building as well. Another one would be Fallen Timbers, which is located, I think Swamico, right? Seymour. I always get the two mixed up. Getting those kids outside and working on project-based learning where if we happen to not be able to build by a local park or a forest, that they can get that experience. As well as Heritage Hill, where they can learn about the history of Wisconsin, because that's huge in 5th grade and 6th grade as part of the curriculum. Partnering with UWGB for Future Phoenix, where they can go in 5th grade to get to see what college is really like. So they get a tour of the campus, as well as can even sit in some classrooms and get an idea of what we hope their future will be like. It's not for everybody, but so they can get that exposure. Master gardeners would actually be coming to our school, so it's not us going to them, they would be coming to us, where the kids can learn about gardening, as well as, if that's what they want to do when they grow up, that they can get that experience. We've also talked about, creating a school garden that the kids can help out with during some of those projects. Live 5, 4, 2, and 8 would be coming to them, talking to them about healthy eating. They even teach the kids how to make proper meals at home. It's very, very helpful for them. As well as NWTC to talk to the kids about STEM projects. In fact, our program got a chance to see in other schools that those STEM projects are great. So the kids can go and see them and they can talk about it, or we can even have them come into our school. And I'll let Rachel take over.
So with all these things that we want to do, we have to figure out a way to inform the community about all the things that we're doing. So we plan to use a variety of ways to let them know about what we are doing. Start with social media. Nowadays, everyone's got something that they check usually, so we would make sure that we keep Facebook and Twitter up to date, as well as a blog that people would be able to read and that would be updated regularly. We also thought about doing a newsletter, and parents and families would have the opportunity to, we would mail it out to the surrounding community. We could also have it sent via email, if that's easier for them. And then we also would like to post it in the local community buildings so that we try to provide as many opportunities as possible to let them know and give them access to viewing that. We would just let them know kind of the important events that are coming up, such as the gallery walks, open houses, things like that. We also wanted to, and as part of the project-based learning, have the students create a newscast. So this is completely student-created, as just another way to inform about the things that are coming up. And this would be broadcast to students monthly, as well as posted on our blog so that the community members would be able to view it. So we kind of just had here's an example of kind of what we would have. So this would just be a way, like, for example, Career Day, if it's coming up, kind of get the kids excited about it, let them know, and also let the families know that, hey, this is coming up soon. We would also have open houses, but our open houses might be led a little bit differently. We wanted these, as families come in, we want students to be leading them through so that community can get kind of a first-hand way to kind of see what's going on, and the students would be talking to them from their point of view. They would have a chance to ask questions about our school. They could learn more about our goals and our vision, and this would allow them just to see it firsthand. We also plan to have multiple open houses because of busy schedules nowadays. They would have multiple opportunities to come in. Becky mentioned our gallery walks. Along with the busy schedules, this is something that might be hard to attend for some families. So we plan to photograph and take video of them, and these would also be posted online so that if someone wasn't able to make it, they still felt like they had the chance to see what's going on and be active in keeping up with that. As far as getting into our school, we plan to use a lottery system. So the way that this will work is families will have to apply online. The applications will be online, and if they are not able to access the online application, then we will also provide a designated time and spot where they can receive assistance and access to the technology that they need. And names will just be drawn at random. And if there are siblings of a student whose name is drawn, the siblings will also be admitted then, so that for convenience for that family. If there are staff members who have children who want them to attend, they will also be allowed to attend our school. If their name is not selected, then we will put them onto a waiting list. And if their name does not come off of the waiting list by the end of that year, then we plan to start over the next year, so they will need to reapply for the following year.
All right, I'll be talking about the impact of poverty. As we saw in the beginning, Chris mentioned that there's a large percentage that are economically disadvantaged, and we want to make sure that we are able to reach out to them and that they have the opportunity to be successful learners as well. Both the girls talked about gallery walks, and we want to make sure that we have those at different days of the week and different times of the day. We know that a lot of times people work different shifts, so we want to have that opportunity for them to get there. And we also will provide transportation to those that need it. If they might not have a vehicle to come, we will set up a schedule that they are able to join us in the gallery walk so they can see the students learning as well. Community mentors. Twice a week we'll have volunteers from the community that will come in to work with students that maybe need just a little extra support or don't have that support at home. They'll help them with homework, they'll just work on different skills, maybe play games, mostly just be a positive role model for them in their life. Learning expeditions and community service. So once a month they will go on a learning expedition, and they will also do a community service act once a month. Our learning expeditions will be going to local businesses to get hands-on experiences, to see what it's like, how it's run. And like I said, that'll be once a month that they'll do that. And then they'll also participate in some type of community service, just to give back to the community and to learn those positive work habits. It might be just going to a nursing home, planting flowers, or just something to give back and make them feel part of the community. Weekend meals, we know that a lot of times students can stress about the weekend coming up. They might not have enough food at home. And we want to allow an opportunity on Fridays for families to come and get food so that they have proper nutrition throughout the weekend. And again, just to try to alleviate some of that stress and some of that hardship that they might have otherwise. And as Becky mentioned, we will be teaming up with Bell and Health. They will be providing different screenings and referrals, health counseling to students that otherwise might not have that opportunity to get it. We'll provide dental cleanings and procedures if that is needed, and also vision screening. Again, just to make sure that they are successful in their learning and aren't affected by any of those. Before and after school care, we are teaming with the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club to have a safe and secure place for the students to go before and after school if mom, dad, whoever is working. And they'll also get the opportunity to kind of do field trips and work on team building activities and character development, and kind of just a way to bond with other students as well. Also, they can do their homework and get help with that.
So as you guys can see, community involvement is huge with Innovation Academy. It's great to get them coming to us going to them, because we want them to have that servant leadership role. So if you guys have any questions, please make sure to fill out Post-its, put it on our board, we'll make sure to address it. We also have brochures from the partnerships that we will be having at our school, so if you want to check those out as well. Thank you.
And then from here, you'll be going to the room through the library on your left to the LGI.
Yes.
professional development. I'm Lisa Gruber. I teach at St. John Baptist School in Howard. And well, currently I'm student service coordinator, so I do a lot of different things at my building. I don't have a classroom anymore, so.
I'm Jeff Wetson. I teach physical education at Sullivan Elementary in Green Bay.
I'm Adam Hansen. I also teach physical education. I'm at Dan's Elementary.
In front of what our great assistant Hannah has passed out to you is what is called a Plickers card. And if you look at the Plickers card, there'll be a number on it, a 1, a 2, or 3 in the corners of the boxes. And then you'll see a letter, an A, a B, a C, or a D. And what we use these for is we use these for taking surveys and getting results from kids and students and quick questions and stuff. So we've got a couple quick questions that we'd like to ask you. And how it works is if your answer is A, you're just going to hold the card up like this so that A is on the top there. If you associate it with number C or letter C, then we'll put the C, which will be held up on top. You just hold it up like that. And then with the iPad, we just scan it and gives us quick instant feedback and quick results. And you can see as we're scanning, you'll see the answers pop up here. How many people picked A, C, B, or D, or F, or G, or whatever we got up there, okay?
All right, so read over the question. First one says, which best fits your previous experiences with professional development? Each one of these questions that we're going to ask is going to give you a glimpse into some of the topics we'll be talking about. Gives you a chance to critically think about your past experiences. So, if your previous experience with professional development, A, teachers had a choice in which professional development they received. An example, my first year I taught at Coleman, we were given a lump sum of money where we were able to seek out our own professional development. B, district leaders created professional development opportunities. Right now I teach at Green Bay Public Schools, and much of our professional development is passed on down by district leaders. C, school administrators get together and discuss what professional development they feel their teachers need, or maybe none of these represent what your experiences were. So, read through them once again, show it with the top. If you feel A is your best representative, put that on top.
When you say district leaders versus school administrators, teacher leaders more, and B?
B would be like superintendent, or for Green Bay there's many downtown people.
Right.
Good. Get Sarah way in the back. Oh. That's fine. All right. We'll go to our next question.
Don't write wrong answers.
The next one asks, which attitude best represents your first year in education? Whether it be as an administrator or a teacher. Your first year in education, did you feel confident and prepared for all obstacles? B, survival mode.
Can't remember that.
Maybe your first year was very up and down. There were times where you did feel confident, but then there were times where you went in a little bit of a panic mode. C, maybe I should find a new profession. Or D, none of these represented how you feel.
I'm glad there's no C's.
Wow.
Awesome, excellent. So, that gets us jumped right into our presentation. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk mostly of our highlights of our presentation revolving around staff and professional development. Me personally, I might be a little biased, but I feel like this is one of the most important areas. Why? Because the people that are in your building are what make your building. First thing to talk about is an experience I have had previously, and what we would like to do is have an action-based research partnership through UWGB, utilizing the educational systems that we have within our community. We'll start year 2 of Innovation Academy with this program. Teachers will collaborate in groups of 3 to 5. I feel it's a great stepping stone into that PLC process. A lot of times teachers get pushed into working collaboratively with others. They don't know how to collect data effectively and use that data. This gives us a great bridge to that process.
And sometimes with PLCs too, in my experience, is you get stuck in PLC groups, which aren't necessarily groups that you formed, that necessarily you're kind of stuck, okay, here's this group, here's, you know, whatever. This gives them an opportunity also to collaborate with people that have similar interests, whether it's from the same school or from within the same academy, hopefully. But it gives you the opportunity to work with people that have similar interests.
Last thing I want to discuss is action research really does fit the mindset of what our program is, which fits perfectly into the way our teachers are going to learn themselves, most likely. And this data that we gather is going to be very useful in the future to sell our program, because 3 to 5 years from now, we're going to have to start showing results. We're going to have to start showing to the community members what our school is really doing. So, to step into the next part, I want to give you an idea of an experience I had last year where I did do this exact program through UWGB. 3 physical education teachers, one of them including myself. We did an action-based research project around how physical activity affects behavior in the classroom. It's something I've always wanted to know. I've always had classroom teachers say, well, we're so happy that we have physical education on this day, and it's in the morning because the days go by so much better. I've never had data to back that up. So, what we did was we took the first two months of the year and we collected data on how students behave for a 10-minute period before a literacy block. We utilized the PBIS time on task tool. How many of you are familiar with that? Okay, and then we looked at disruptions in the classroom. I set up a video camera in the classroom, and then I went back and I looked at all this data to make sure that it was valid. The 3 schools that we had, 2 of them were highly diverse, economically as well as ethnically. The other one was predominantly white and middle class. We wanted to have information from different areas to make sure that it went with each other. So take a look at a little bit of the data that I found from last year. The red is the days where they did not have physical education or physical activity. On the x-axis, we're looking at number of disruptions in a 10-minute class period. The y-axis on the side has the number of days we assessed this. So as you can clearly see, the red part where there was no physical activity given, no physical education class on that day, no classroom energizer given, we're looking at over 12 disruptions in a classroom period on those days. Whereas opposed to when we have the physical activity provided, much less disruptions in those classrooms. I talked with my assistant principal and he said, time on task is going to be a big part of our district coming up. We should also collect data in that area. So, time on task, we look at it. Same thing with the red, no physical education, no physical activity given. A majority of the time on task is below 80%. Our school goal was to be 90% or higher. So with that physical activity, most of the physical activity was able to put us into our goal area. So what was the result of doing this project? I'm now 1 year after doing this. What has happened? I have had literally 15 teachers, classroom teachers this year, come up to me and say, what are some classroom energizers that we can do? I set up a web page for our school where teachers can go to and utilize those energizers quickly, easily. 2 of the energizers that we did last year, cup stacking, I don't know if you've ever heard of that, and ball of Vizex. Both are researched highly and both are very effective. So classroom teachers asked me to teach them how to utilize this in the classroom. I started raising money to buy equipment so classroom teachers can have this equipment for their use. District leaders were there watching this presentation and they took note of the success. For me, And us, we have now more job security. While physical education teachers are very valuable. And it's also a great thing for us to build those partnerships. What does UWGB do? They provide the resources. I wouldn't have been able to maybe have as many journals to go to, like when I went to my undergrad through UWSP, it's so many resources to utilize. Now that I'm a teacher, I don't have as many of those. UWGB provides that. Another great thing, PDP, they were able to link that with us, so that was a part of it. Now my PDP is done in that 1 year. So that was a great thing that we can utilize for that as well. Professional learning communities. Jeff, if you hit on led by a master teacher.
Part of our professional learning communities, like we had just mentioned before, isn't necessarily groups. Always get grouped into people that have similar interests or similar needs and things like that. Sometimes we're just stuck, well, you're at this grade level, so we're going to go, but you may have different grades. You know, school I teach at, we have bilingual classes, and we have English speaking classes. Yeah, they're both first grade classes, but are their needs the same? Not necessarily. Our master teachers, what we're looking at within our Innovation Academy here is an opportunity to kind of bridge the gap between just teachers and the administrators. You know, and I look at them kind of like the teacher leadership program we have here, you know, people that have gone on and gotten extra degrees, gotten extra education, extra training, done more research within their area of interest, and now have developed more expertise. Those master teachers are going to help lead the professional learning. They're going to be a driving force with the professional learning communities, and they're going to focus on results. They're going to focus on creating the culture where we collaborate because we have similar interests, and that we can all work to hit a common goal. What does this group of kids need? What does this group of kids need? And we can have people facilitate those, which will free up the administration to do more administrative type roles without having to oversee everything. Our administrators will be involved with our professional development, but we're going to rely heavily on the master teachers to do that, and make sure that our main goal is that student outcomes, that the students are learning.
Next, we're going to discuss new hires, and that was one of our clicker questions for today. As you can see, most of you guys had a similar experience to mine, where you feel kind of like, sometimes I feel very prepared, and it's like an up and down where you feel a little bit bipolar at times. The National Center for Teacher Residencies, that 60% of new teachers are not prepared. The biggest reason, undergrads usually not talked about practice, it's talked about theories. What we've developed is a program off of that, where our master teachers will be a part of working one-on-one with these new teachers. The new teachers will have an opportunity to, for 1 period, observe a master teacher, or they can go in and have that master teacher observe them. Each day they are now able to have reflection each morning to discuss what went well with your lesson. A lot of times that first year I felt like, man, I have no time to reflect. I'm trying to do this, that, I'm lesson planning. This gives them that time to have quality reflection in the morning.
And to get somebody that has other ideas that can help them when you say, you know, what went well, what did not go well, and how can you change it.
Teacher retention, one of the most important things we can do as a group, as administrators and stuff like that is, you know, hire and retain good people. That's what we want ultimately. Doesn't matter what line of work you're in, you want to be able to hire and retain good people. To hire them and to retain them, one of the things we really want to do is we want to build that sense of community, put ownership in it with everybody. You know, if people feel valued, they're going to feel ownership, they're going to put more stake into it. If I'm out recruiting and we need a position here, and I can rely on the people within our group, because they understand what we need, what our academy needs, they understand the differences between this, that, and the other thing, they can recruit people that they know, one, are going to be a good fit for this Innovation Academy, that are going to be a good fit for the other people that are working here, that are going to have expertise or knowledge or passion in these areas. So if we can rely on our teachers within house and our master teachers to go out and help us recruit, that also puts more ownership in with our teachers to stay within our academy, and then we don't have teachers jumping in and out and going, okay, you know, I went here, but you know what, that wasn't for me, and then they left, because then we're not gonna be successful as an academy if we've got a lot of transfer in and out. So our goal is to get them in and keep them in by building really a sense of community and putting that ownership on it. As mentioned, active part of the hiring process, the opportunity to pursue that master teacher title. You know, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that bridges that little bit of a gap between, you know, I'm just a classroom teacher, and then we have administration. It gives you more responsibility. You know, there's a lot of people. I mean, we have, what, 18 people in this program, and half are administrative, half are teacher leadership. They want that more experience. They want to take on more leadership roles, but they don't necessarily want the building principal job or those responsibilities. This gives them an opportunity to fulfill intrinsically their motivation from an education standpoint also. And as always, they're going to be an active part of their professional growth. We are Innovation Academy. We're based on project-based learning, things like that. And we want that to be part of, not only are we preaching it to our kids, and kids learn differently, but we need to be able to reach those different kids. We need to be able to reach our teachers also, and they need to be able to learn in different ways, because not only, we don't become teachers now we all learn the same way. Every teacher still learns the same way based on who you are. It's always been that way from the time you were here all the way through school. It continues on. So we're going to be working actively to have them be a part of their professional growth. And as you know, training, mentoring, it's a hands-on, ongoing support within the mentor teachers. We kind of mentioned that a little bit before. The administration standpoint, our goal is we have an administrator for our academy because we want that administration to be the face of that. We did not want to be attached to a school and have an administrator do a dual role. Because our goal long-term is to develop the program, develop the charter school, and keep it growing. And so we felt it was best option that we put an administrator in that role to begin with, so we can have a face of the program and someone who's there that help us grow it. Develop, you know, preach the servant leadership that, you know what, our students in our community is what we're here to serve, and we need to serve that and do the best we can with that. To align the charter school vision with Green Bay School, since that's who we're attaching to, we need to make sure that our charter school and Green Bay were on the same page. Develop community partners. That's going to be huge with our idea of getting out in the community and bridging those gaps that aren't necessarily there right now in a lot of the education systems. So that is another reason why our administrator needs to be with this program and not just a blended, you know, one covering two jobs. A lot of the other administrative roles are going to be your typical administrative roles that your principals or you guys as principals have now. But those are some of the unique ones that we thought would stand out with this program.
Professional development, I look at my first year in Green Bay Public Schools. I sat in, as a physical education teacher, math professional development and literacy professional development. An hour and a half went by and I'm like, none of this I can use. I can't utilize this. And all this time has gone by where I could have been doing something useful or getting professional development within my area. For our program, what we're going to do different within Green Bay Public Schools is get teacher feedback at the beginning of the year. What professional development would you like? Gather those surveys. As administrators and master teachers, we sit down and then we provide those opportunities for our teachers and our staff. I think that's very vital for teacher growth and also getting buy-in from our teachers. I lost all interest within 10 minutes of being in those, but when I was in Coleman and I was given the opportunity to pursue professional development within the area, I was motivated, I was energized to learn more and grow.
Another part of that too is also not, you know, you're speaking from Fayed, obviously then you're in a math, you know, professional development, but also within the areas that you want to be in, we still need to have those professional development opportunities to be practical. You know, it's too much theory where you sit and you know this is the way you're supposed to do something, but then how do you do it? So that's an important part too.
To wrap this all up, I found this tree, and it talks about 10 things teachers want for professional development, and it really wraps up everything in our whole section really well. For example, number one, teachers want a voice and a choice in the professional development that is offered. Hits on exactly what I just discussed. Teachers want professional development that is relevant for their students. Usually, you want to make sure that when you're in professional development, you want to see student growth. Our student growth model hit this year in Green Bay Public Schools. We're going to want to see our students growing in that area. Teachers want professional development that they can use right away. Action research project that we have our students doing allows us to do that, allows us to see results right away.
Number 4 up there, teachers want professional development that is conducted by professionals with classroom experience. And that coincides with our master teacher leadership programs and stuff, where, these are teachers that have the experience and they're leading the professional development. Teachers want professional development that's innovative and creative. We blend that into our action-based research and things like that because we want stuff that we want to be able to use in the classroom that's different. What can we do differently? So by doing that and having with our master teachers also is going to help drive that, finding new research and things. Teachers want professional development that makes them better teachers. Too often we sit there in professional development and we think, okay, this is great. I can hear this, and which leads into number 7, teachers want professional development that's practical, not theoretical. You can hear this, this is great, this is great, this is great, but then you walk out and, well, how do I do that? As a Phi Ed teacher and a coach, if I'm coaching a kid on how to shoot a free throw, I can tell them, okay, you got to put your feet here, shoulder width apart, have the elbow in, arm here, this, that, and the other thing. If I don't have him go out and do it, he's never going to learn how to shoot a free throw. We need to incorporate more of that in, which is part of our action-based research and everything like that, to get the teachers the time they need. There's research out there that says, to implement something like that, teachers need 50 hours of practice time before they can master it or it becomes natural, much like muscle memory. Too much professional development is we sit here for an hour and a half and then out the door you go. You don't actually get to use it.
So the 8th one is teachers want professional development that allows them to collaborate and speak honestly. That goes along with the PLCs also, where people are working together, they are collaborating on the way that they're going to help the students the best, and to be able to speak honestly in those time periods too, so that you gain that trust of each other and that community building. The teachers want professional development that will be relevant for a long time. So I think we've all had that experience where you go to something for an hour and then, the next year it's not anything that anybody feels is relevant, or things aren't going for a long period of time, so that you can collect your data and really see the effects on the students and the teachers. And then finally, teachers want administration to attend and participate in the professional development. That shows their support also of what the teachers choose or what they feel they need for professional development, for them to be a part of that as well, not just send them to it.
And that wraps up our presentation today. Thank you guys so much for coming.
We'll shut up.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We are the CIA, so we are curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And no interrogation here, but we are going to share with you a little bit of how that fits into the bigger picture of our school and our mission and vision. So with the learning model that fosters community, you've heard a lot about project-based learning already, so I'm not going to go through that entirely, but tell you how that connects to really the essence of what our roles are, and that is to keep students at the center of their learning opportunities, that they learn to question, that they learn to research, that they learn to collaborate, investigate, analyze, and report their discoveries. One of the big facets of this is also giving those hands-on opportunities for them, moments for independence and student choice, and flexible groups. So I'll share, I'm 43. Hand of anybody else who's 43 in here? Nobody?
Older.
Okay, but we are all able to work together and learn from each other and collaborate and provide opportunities to enhance each other's learning experiences as well. We want those real world opportunities to also be something that is prevalent for our students. Not everybody in the same grade, same age, but learning from each other in multi-groups, flexible groups, multi-age environments. And also having that shift from teachers providing the learning and students just being the sponges that sit there, soak it up, and spit it out. We want them to assume the driver's seat in their learning so that it's real and authentic to their world and to their future.
For the strength-based elements of our school design, as Shauna touched on, we think that multi-age grouping is very important, and that will be based on their individual learning styles, which we've studied a lot and talked a lot about the multiple intelligences. We want students to learn in a way that their minds and bodies work best, or the way that they enjoy the most, because we think that they will get the most out of that. We do think that IQ testing is far too limited, so the multiple intelligences are more to show all of the potential of all of our students. Innovation Academy will use the workshop model in the morning for learning about literacy and math. And we have researched and looked at other schools in Wisconsin, and we feel that the students are the most focused and able to learn best during that workshop model in the morning. And they'll also be learning the other subject areas when applicable. In the afternoon at Innovation Academy, we will be incorporating science and social studies through the project-based learning that you've heard a lot about. And that's the innovative approach to teaching those 21st century skills that we feel are very important. Students will drive their own learning through inquiry. They'll be collaborating and researching, creating projects, and reflecting on the knowledge that they learned. We would like to give them the opportunity to explore their own interest within our curriculum. And I know that you have heard from other people about how important the community service and field trips are as well. And we also think that students being in advisory groups will be beneficial, so they can collaborate with each other and give each other feedback. The other thing that I want to talk about today is the importance of technology and the STEM program at our school. Technology as a learning tool, we will have one-to-one technology, and we believe that a variety of devices is the most beneficial. We don't want to have all students on a Chromebook or all students on an iPad. We believe that they need to learn how to use all of the different devices within our school, and as they go on to further education and as they get careers in the future. We will use technology when it's meaningful and to enhance the learning, not just to use a computer to use one. We want students to be able to problem solve with all of the different devices as they are learning. And we think that STEM, the science, technology, and engineering, which you see a picture of what that might look like, and mathematics are very important for future careers. We think that our students need to be very strong in those areas for their future education and careers. And lastly, we think that the digital portfolios are very important to show their learning and knowledge both locally and globally.
Okay, standards and how they fit into it. So obviously, national and state standards are expected and a very important part of our school and our learning. But we also want to make sure that we're keeping the essence, the focus on that integration, having students understand what they're supposed to learn, why it's important, and how they can get there. And part of the way of doing that is having those learning targets and also having an individualized learning plan where they're selecting specific outcomes, a plan for their learning, and seeing how it, for themselves, how it will connect to, the standards that we need to hold them accountable for and that we need to show that outcome as well. So we have an individualized learning plan that is going to be passed around, and it's an opportunity to share that formative, summative data, a plan for their learning for each area that they're going to be developing into in those the based learning. So when they're coming up with a plan, a lesson, they're deciding how they're going to show that. This is going to help them keep on track when they meet with their individual advisory teams, when they meet with their teachers and with administration, and a way to be also report their learning along the process as they go. We have two different ways of showing you how we're going to be developing lessons. So that traditional way of developing a lesson, which would be a teacher saying, this is the standard that I have to hit, so I'm going to report to the students, this is our standard, this is the assignment, and the flexibility would be you get to pick a diagnosis that you want to research. Then everything else is formulated the same. We want you to do your research, we want you to report in writing your findings, we want you to have it cited in MLA, and we're gonna give you a rubric and grade you. So that's kind of the old way of doing it. For our project-based way of doing it, we're gonna be saying, these are the objectives that we need to learn, this is why. Now we want you to formulate a plan on how it connects to you, how your learning is going to target those. What are you gonna do? What best way do you have to plan your learning? So it might be something from researching family history, it might be doing the report, it might be interviewing or working collaboratively with a professional in that field. And then how are you going to demonstrate it, whether it's individual, small group, or larger group, to be able to showcase that learning.
There's a lot of creativity within our school design. Like it's been mentioned before, we really think it's important to have multi-age grouping of kids because kids are the same age does not mean that they're appropriately placed in that same grade. There's kids who are working ahead of their peers their age, there's kids that are working behind, so we think that having that multi-age grouping would be a lot more flexible in meeting the needs of everyone that we serve. Another thing that we are really proud of is our digital portfolios. We want students to be showcasing their learning, and we want them to kind of take ownership of showing them this is what I've done, rather than the traditional report cards where they would get an A in math, an E in reading, a C in science. What does that mean? That you can memorize things and take a test in math? These portfolios can kind of show what they're able to do, what they've learned, and how they've been progressing throughout their time at our school. We also think our schedule is really creative. We have that more structured time in the morning for that reading workshop and that math workshop time because there is a need for us to close that achievement gap. We really wanted to make sure we had that time in the morning where we could do direct instruction, teaching those reading skills and strategies, math practices, and different groupings and small groups, and just kind of be able to meet everyone's needs. In the afternoon, we have that more like free, open, project-based learning time where we can infuse science and social studies together and incorporate math, depending on what subject we're looking at, what the kids are interested in. And when they're kind of getting antsy in the afternoon, we have that flexible time. Where in a traditional school, you're segmented to maybe an hour, 50 minutes with that kid for math, and then they move to science. With our schedule, we can kind of blend it and use that time wherever we see best fit. Like Emily mentioned before, we have a big emphasis on STEM as well. There is a big need for STEM-related jobs and skills in the workforce right now, so we thought that it would be really important to kind of include as much science and technology and engineering and math as we could within our projects. We also want to make sure too that students are doing work that is meaningful, not giving worksheets for doing the sake of worksheets, sending home 20 math problems each night. We want the work that they're doing in and outside of school to be meaningful and actually have some value to their everyday life.
So, formative and summative assessments, how do we prove that they're learning? How do we know that they're learning? So we are going to be utilizing the same summative assessments that the district would be using, and so STAR 360, using LLI, Access for ELL, and the State Forward exam. Those are all data points that we can show on the ILP and monitor that progress. So again, it's not something that's kept hidden from students. It's not kept out of their reach. It's something that they see, they have that data, and they can also help let that data, the formative, the big data, or summative, have them let that help them to form their goals. To meet with the individual teams, to meet with their mentor, their teacher, and administrator to see what areas do they need to help focus into their own learning plan so that they can see that growth as well. And then also the formative assessments that we have to be able to check along the way that their plan, what they're working towards, is hitting those learning outcomes, those objectives. And if it's not, what can we do as their cohort, their team, but also as the teachers, as administrators, to help lift them up so that they're in the driver's seat and that they can help get to where they need to go. Quarterly reports are put on the ILP as well so that we can also message that information out to parents so that they know how they're doing, not just in letter grade for certain areas, not just in data that they receive from big tests at the end of the year that really doesn't do anything that tell them whether or not they're advanced are proficient, but really break it down to where their strengths are and what goals that they're coming up with to help support those areas that they need assistance with.
When it comes to meeting the special needs of our students, like Emily said, we're going to kind of tap into the multiple intelligences. But we would also like the students to take a strengths and interest screener. So right as they're coming in the door, we kind of know more about them. We also want to include parents by having them take a survey of any social or academic needs that they feel that their child might have. Obviously, of course, accepting students with IEPs and 504 plans. We want to be, as special ed teachers, pushing in. We want to see them pushing in as much as they can, keeping the students in the classroom, but also pulling out if needed, especially for some of those hidden curriculum things like social skills, and then teaching that pulled out on the side, but then being able to push back in and apply it. By having the flexibility in the morning schedule, we can really meet all the needs of our students, whether they need to be in one particular class for math and then another for reading or language arts. And then again in the afternoon, kind of applying that whole group social skills, collaborational stuff. Because we're partnered with the Green Bay School District, we'll also have services such as OT, PT, educational audiology, all those kinds of things. And then also having our own sensory room so that way we can be handling some of the needs of our students right within our school.
There's also a big need in the Green Bay area for before and after school programs. 61% of our students are economically disadvantaged, and a lot of times when they go home after school, there's not anyone there to supervise them, or they are providing the supervision for their brothers and sisters who are younger. So we will be partnering with the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club of Green Bay to provide before and after school care for students who need it. That way, if their parents work, they can drop them off early. They can stay late if their parents are working late. They'll be supervised. They can hang out with peers their age. They can get homework help. If there's someone not at home that can speak the language, if there's someone who doesn't know how to help them, there's people there to provide that assistance when needed.
When it comes to co-curricular activities, we want to have a few things going on just right within our own schools, such things as board game club, art club, running club, but we also feel would be highly beneficial to partner right with the larger school for things like athletics, plays, musicals, and to help our students kind of build some of those relationships, because we only do 5 through 8. When they move on to 9th grade, they'll already have some friendships already formed, and you'll also hear a lot more about this at community and involvement. So.
There is something we forgot to pass around. Do you want to share that? So really, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. So really at the heart of it is, if you think of anything from this, is making sure that learning is authentic, that it's real. We don't want it to be something where they are just memorizing to pass. We want it to be something that motivates them so that they leave changed. And so they see their connection to our community. So opportunities for their learning to go out and work with different specialists, different people in the field to see what's out there, and it might ignite a passion that they didn't even know that they had, and that would be amazing. So to have it be real and authentic, and those opportunities for them to discover or rediscover some passion that could change their life.
Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to jot them down on a sticky note, stick them on the board, and we'll answer them again for you.
Check out any of our pictures and our
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
You guys want these sheets back too?
Nope, we don't have those.
Facilities, Finance, and Law, the most exciting of the four. So we are happy to have you here. We'll start talking facilities today. What we are doing is we are having our school in one of the wings of an existing elementary school. The benefits we get from that is we are able to use their lunchroom, their gym, and their outdoor facilities. As to what we'd like to do with the amount of space that we have is we want it to really fit our vision and our mission. And as our mission states, to build a community that empowers diverse learners to develop their strengths in an authentic, problem-based learning environment. So I'm just going to grab this so you can see it a little bit closer. Basically, when you come in from the school, the center of our school is called the pit, and it is an area that is a carpeted multi-use area. Called the pit for It really sits, if you look at the word pit, P being personal, it's very personal space. It's very innovative. We can use it for drama, for a multiple use area, and also team. We can have our whole school will fit in this area if we would like to do some community building things. And off of the pit will be 6 learning labs, which can be used for any of the project-based things that the master teachers are doing. Also, we have, for the diversity of our children, we've got a maker space down here for them to use. There's a sensory lab for children that would be a benefit to, and we have a science lab here. The science lab leads out to the nature trail and the garden area in the back of the school. Off to the side over there is a living skills lab for the children who would like to, as our mission states, develop their skills in that area. And we also have individual learning cubes here for kids who might need a little bit of quiet time to do what they're doing. We do have our own guidance and administrative area. And overall, because this all circles around the hub, we just believe that this type of a setup really supports the mission of what we're doing, trying to get these kids to feel that this is a community, but also have the spaces, very flexible spaces, that can be used to further our mission.
All right, and on the handout that you received, you will see some of the information regarding our budget and finance. The luxury of pairing with the Green Bay District is that we don't have to be concerned with like the facilities upkeep and where those monies need to come from. Teacher salaries, that's determined by the district as well, and then some of the classroom materials and furniture as well. On the grid, you will see that we are planning to implement, or our proposed implementation grant of $175,000 a year for 3 years. After that, when those monies run out, and within our first year with students, we are proposing the district to allot us an amount of about $200 per student to grow in years after, not to be anything less than $600 per student. Within the Green Bay District, the philosophy is to accumulate funds from students through annual student fees. That's generally around $65 per student. We have our maximum enrollment in the end being nothing less than 120 students. You can see our total revenue and our corresponding student-to-teacher ratio down on the bottom with our staffing needs. Starting out the first year with our 4 master teachers and 1 administrator. Likewise, on the bottom of your handout, you will see those pie charts where we've decided where the allocation of funds is going to be. Obviously, we need to invest quite a bit of money into our professional development, into preparing our master teachers for what they need to do. Marketing will have to grow in years to come as more and more students join and as those implementation grants run out. Technology, with our proposal to have a 1-to-1 ratio of technology to student, the funds need to be there to back that. And curriculum, while much of that might be determined by the district, we have waivers in place that we would like to select some of our own, so there will also need to be money allocated for curriculum as well.
All right, I will now talk about the law. Just know that we are going to follow state and federal laws and regulations for any public school and charter school. On the back of the handout that you have are some waivers that we're going to request. Class size, and you can read them on your own. Class size, some school staffing, so we want to make sure that we keep our teacher-to-student ratio low. Instructional materials, you've heard about that already today, so it gives us some flexibility. Professional development. Also, our calendar, which you've received already as well, so that gives us, again, the waivers are just to give us that flexibility to do what we do best with students. So this is all geared around that.
Okay, all right, well, you might be wondering, what are the benefits to having Innovation Academy attached to the Green Bay School District? It is expensive. We will be needing money from Green Bay School District. We have greater benefits beyond that. We have, because according to DPI, in the school year 2014-2015, there were 338 students who transferred into the Green Bay School District, but there were also 1,801 students who transferred out of the school district to different charter schools. through the voucher program or to other public schools. That is almost $9 million lost revenue for the Green Bay School District. That's significant. We feel that we will be able to draw at least one student would represent each one of the schools, of the 35 schools in the Green Bay School District, that we'd be able to draw in 35 students who would otherwise seek schooling elsewhere, bringing in approximately $253,000 back into the district. We have another benefit to the school as a whole. As you know, hiring and maintaining teachers is expensive. And so because of our unique master teacher program, our master teachers will be the mentor teachers for brand new teachers coming in, and they'll work closely with our master teachers for a longer period of time. And so they'll be brought into the Green Bay School District as new teachers, but through this mentoring with the master teachers for an extended period of time, they will learn and grow and stay with the district, thus reducing hiring costs. If you have any questions, you can put them on your Post-it note and add your Post-it note to our collection on the sign.
We'll be sure to answer them in closing. Thank you for coming, Tara.
Thank you so much.
Does anybody have any questions?
So we'll open it up to any group that would like to go first.
We had just a simple one, that how many staff members are in the academy, so we're starting with 4, so it's a 10-to-1 ratio. And then moving up to 8 eventually.
And another question we had is, will you have specials, art, music, FIED? Yes, we will.
Those would be more by their designated grade and age level.
Yep.
And it also be shared within the school that we are partnering with.
One of the questions was how many hours of professional development per year. We'll be following the Green Bay's model with the professional development that they have built into the school calendar. We don't have a set amount of hours, so to speak, because as we get in with action research-based development, things like that, you can't put a time on that. Each project's going to be different in length, and again, it's not necessarily, we don't feel it's necessarily about making a minutes as much as it is what are you getting out of it. So a project may take you 3 weeks, it may take you 3 months, it may take you a year and a half. So our thought process is, and everything can change, is that we're going to give you ample time to do what individuals need to do to develop. Another question we have is what qualifies a teacher to be a master teacher? And that was one of the things we've talked about with, this program itself is a good example of someone who could be a master teacher, where we have the admins and we have the teacher leaderships. Someone from a master teacher, we want to have a higher education, have it, gone out and done a little bit more than just has their bachelor's. So someone, we'd be looking at someone like from a program like this who has a teacher leadership. Or maybe even, they could have their administration license too, but doesn't want necessarily to be a principal at this time. We're looking at someone who has got teaching experience, someone who is more of a leader, more innovative, someone who likes to get into the data and things like that, who's done some research, and more experienced teacher. That's, again, we don't have someone, okay, you have to be 3 years experience, you have to have this, but it will be adjusted in the rank and whatnot as the schools go, or within our school. So hopefully that answers.
Another question asked was, how do you only have 8 staff members in year 3 with 1 administrator? And Jeff and I discussed, and a big part of our school is community partnerships. That's a huge task, and that will be taken on by our administrator in finding those community partnerships and making those connections. We also want to make sure that we have a face of our school, someone that family members coming and knows who represents our school.
Another thing with the admin too is, I know it sounds, well, you're paying a lot of money for one person with a little kids, with a few amount of students you have. But our goal, our 3-year goal is to triple our program. Our long-term goal is we want this to be, service all the kids, as many kids as we can. We don't want to cap it at 120 if we can't. You know, if it's 10 years down the road and we've got 300 kids that are interested, that's what we want to be able to do. And we want an administrator that's there from day one and is able to help build it as well, which is another reason why that we have one administrator for 40 kids to 120 kids, long-term projections.
We had community involvement. One of our questions was who manages the volunteer program, which is a great question. That would be when our action teams come into play. So when you have the principal, the student, parents, and community members, they would be doing that together, coming up with a schedule. And then, I won't say who this is from, but we can figure it out. What about partnering with a school forest? Like Pulaski Community Middle School. That is a great idea, so that's something we're going to add to our charter school because we talked about going to Heritage Hill, or not Heritage Hill, I'm sorry, Fallen Timbers, but that's a great way to partner up with them, so great, great idea.
Good plug. Another question we had is kind of a concern with busy parents and fundraising, how it can become very overwhelming for parents at times. And we would not have a certain amount of hours that had to be volunteer hours. It would be kind of just volunteer fundraising hours. It would just be kind of as you want to or as you can do them. So there wouldn't be a set allotted time that would have to be done.
And that kind of goes along with who funds like these community service trips and these field trips and stuff. Part of that would come from the fundraising that's done, as well as grants that we apply for, and if there's any part of the school funds that are left, they can go towards that also. And we got the question, is the lottery system totally random, or is it going to be proportional to our demographics? It will be random, and besides the staff members, kids, and siblings, but we do plan on it being random.
So we're from Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. So one of the questions I have is, how do you have multiple students in a group working on different projects? And that's part of the choice in it. So if you're working in a group, it's going to be a group project. So that's going to be something that they're going to agree upon so that they can work collaboratively together to meet their group goal. It could be a smaller group, or it could be individual. So that's part of the students taking that lead in their learning. Let's see. How about assessments on a more daily, quarterly basis? How will this be communicated with parents as well? So part of the ILP that we showed out did have quarterly updates for data and also just goal development, what goal they're working on. Are they meeting with their advisory team, yes or no? What's the feedback from that? So we're giving opportunities for families and students to be informed quarterly on a variety of things. So your big data, whether it be from those big assessments that they take throughout the year, whether it be those small every day, whether it's meeting with their teachers or meeting with their advisory groups, or just their own reflection towards their plan. They're going to be sharing a lot of that out quarterly and throughout the process. So it's not just the end result, but the road, the passage to get there. How will you assess initial students' level for missing skill sets? So we do have that interest that we're going to be taking, that interest data, but in addition to that, they're going to come in and they're going to have the language arts and math screening right away, and that's part of that first quarter with everything bulleted out so that we can see where their strengths are even within those areas. So not just keeping that information hidden from them, but within math, maybe one of they're doing pretty well overall, but data analysis is an area that is lower. So a goal might be for them within the larger afternoon groups is maybe find if it fits, maybe data analysis needs to be an area that you want to include within your project so you can get those authentic opportunities to help make that connection, which should help you raise that data. And then we do those progress checks to see over time, how is it going?
One of my questions was about like a hidden curriculum and social skills. That's kind of where we had talked about, we want to see special ed push in as much as possible, but when there is a need for pulling out and maybe teaching a specific skill, we're definitely going to take the opportunity to do that, but then push back in to apply it, especially in the afternoons when we have some of that group work collaboration time. Also, when it comes to extra needs such as OT, PT, one of the questions was is when is that going to be done? The afternoon is also a great time for that. We would, again, like to see those services be pushed in as much as possible. But with the afternoon being more open and more work time and a greater allotment of time, it's a good time for that stuff to be done.
All right, the question I have is why did we choose to set up the schedule the way we did with math and literacy workshops in the morning and the project-based learning in the afternoon? And that was research-based, not only the project-based learning research, also looking at other charter schools from around Wisconsin and around the whole United States and seeing what has worked best for them as well.
We had a great question about homework, the other topic that's big up for debate. We thought that homework definitely needs to be meaningful and thoughtful, not giving worksheets for doing the sake of worksheets. So if they're involved in our school, we're hoping that they're also going to be involved in some of our extracurriculars and involved in the community, so we don't want to bog them down with hours of extra work at night. If they do have homework, it'll be something that is meaningful, like in math, if they're working on ratios or percents and rates, like go out and find a example of unit rates in the community, go to the grocery store and take a picture of something, instead of do these 50 problems where it might take them an hour, they might not have that help, and there might be that frustration time, so it has to be meaningful.
Attached to. We will be sharing the lunchroom with them and sharing the gym with them and the outdoor recess type facilities. We're hoping that partnership, it has worked in the past with other charter schools that we've looked at, and we hope to be able to do that with them.
The question was posed, will master teachers be paid a different rate, and will that follow the scale of the GBAPS? And I think Jeff did a great job kind of covering that when he didn't realize it. The selection of the master teachers is to be very strategic, and currently Green Bay does offer stipend for those who have higher education. So that's kind of the goal, for those people to be kind of handpicked with teaching experience and just a multitude of leadership opportunities for them.
The question I have are, there are only 6 classrooms or labs, but 8 teachers. Do classes not have classrooms? That is more of the traditional thinking of a teacher has a classroom and then that teacher stays within that classroom. But our model and the way that our school is set up is to move more fluidly. So we have a lot of space for individuals, for groups, but we have the pit that's there. So it's kind of that outside of the box thinking that a teacher equals a classroom with kids in it. So it's just kind of that fluidity type.
And the final question revolves around the pit. The question is, do you think the pit is the best name? Absolutely. It is the best name because it stands for Personal Innovative Team. And with our project-based learning, this pit provides the hub for us to give that personal attention. It's innovative, that the innovation takes place, it's presented there, and we are all a team, we are a community. So the pit is the perfect name.
Does anyone have any additional questions after hearing the responses to questions? All right, then I'd like to thank you very much. William Glasser says, nothing we can do will improve the quality of life in any community more than quality schools. So thank you very much.